My first question, Pastor Steve, is from Natalie, and she says, I have a question about Amos 8, 11, and 12, where the prophet talks about a famine of the words of God. When does this take place, and is this an end times prophecy? Amos 8, verses 11 and 12.
Let me look at it here. Let me do it in here so I can read my Bible so I can...
Sorry. I tried to hit him with the ones beforehand, but we got to talking and ran out of time.
11, vision of the summer fruit. Okay. You know, I can't tell you that for sure. You know, this is one of those passages that could be speaking about judgment that's taken place during the time of Amos, you know, with Judah, and definitely during the time of Amos, there were judgments that were taking place on Judah. The problem that you have is when you're going through the Old Testament and in some of these passages that what the prophet is seeing is something that applies to the situation that they're in at that point. But many times there are key words that come in that let you know that we're launching off and we're getting into something that's in the last days. And so the thing that I would look at that might be an indication of last time stuff is in verses 9 and 10. It says, and it shall come to pass in that day, says the Lord God, that I will make the sun go down at noon. I will darken the earth in broad daylight. I will turn your feasts into mourning and all your songs into lamentation. That is something that may be pointing to some of the judgments that take place during the tribulation period. And so there's a couple of different places. There's one where it talks about a third of the stars aren't seen and a third of the day isn't seen. And that may be speaking about that period of time, and that's judgment that's found in Revelation chapter 8. In either situation, the thing that makes me think that this is obviously something that's going to be taking place during the time of Amos is because he talks about the fact that, verse 12, they shall wander from sea to sea and from north to east. They shall run to and fro seeking the word of the Lord, but shall not find it. Then it says, in that day the fair virgins and strong young men shall faint from thirst. Those who swear by the sin of Samaria, which is talking about the sin of Jeroboam in replacing God's worship with a worship of a calf. Those who swear by the sin of Samaria, who say, as your God lives, O Dan, and as the way of Beersheba lives, they shall fall and never rise again. Well, that's something that's local. And so it's not that those things can't be going on during the last days. Obviously, a famine of the word of the Lord is something that's definitely going to be taking place during the tribulation period because of the fact that people have turned away from God and they're beginning to follow after Antichrist. So that applies. And so, you know, if I was going to look at this passage, I would primarily take it and use it for the judgments that are taking place during the time of Amos. But the whole thing with the sun going down at noon, I would say that there's a good possibility that this has a dual fulfillment, that this is something that could be taking place during the tribulation period too. And I know that's, you know, it sounds like waffling and stuff, but many times you find this in the Old Testament. There are passages in the Old Testament, though, where it's very clear that we're not talking about a local event. We're talking about something that's going to take place at a future time. And so the thing that would make me point towards the tribulation is the judgment in the sun. So,
cool.